Hello everyone, it's Simon here from High Playing Games. Hope you're all having a great day. This is a review of Echoes 3 with my croaky voice, so apologies for that. Thanks to the developer for sending across a copy to take a look at, full disclosure. This is a continuation of their Echo series. So Echoes Plus was a 2D, entirely 2D twin stick shooter. Echoes 3 takes all of the objects in the 2D plane but brings them into 3D across 5 different solar systems, which kind of rank your difficulty levels as you go up. So you start off with a really easy one where there's just meteors flying in, and gradually over time the arena will get more and more clustered up with other different objects that will be more aggressive towards you as time goes on. There's 4 different modes that you can play in, and they all basically revolve around getting a higher score so that you can then be posted onto an online leaderboard. Echoes mode is probably the one that you'll spend the most time on, because that's the one that gradually progresses in difficulty across the solar system that you're playing in over the course of time. You have little men in capsules that fly around that you need to be able to shoot at to break open their seal and then collect them really quickly. What they do is increase your score multiplier, so that when you then go and kill more asteroids or angry planets that chase you around, then they're worth more, essentially. You'll also have power-ups for your weapons, your bombs, as well as your health that you can gradually unlock over time as well. And these are all tied to Steam achievements, which I thought was quite cool. Survivor mode is where you've only got one hit and then you die, so it's just to survive as long as possible. Speedrun is essentially trying to clear as many enemies as you can within a certain time zone before the next lot come in again, so it's a bit like wave mode. And Big Bang mode is essentially taking away your guns and you're only allowed bombs. So, what was really interesting for me about this is that when you move from 2D to 3D, it's really difficult sometimes, and quite a few developers struggle with it in terms of how a game translates across. A twin stick shooter is actually quite good to do in that regard, because if you've got the feel of the plane right, which Echoes 3 definitely does, and the fluidity of where your bullets go, then it actually really makes sense. The one downside that I have with it though is that because Echoes Plus was also quite neon tinged and quite psychedelic, that colour palette has stayed for Echoes 3, and initially it looks really cool. You're like, ooh, and particularly actually when you're looking at screenshots, you're like, oh, that looks quite funky. In practice though, sometimes the colours start all bleeding into each other and cause you more problems than the joy that they give you. So your meteors might be bright pink, for example, and then when they explode they're even hotter pink, but inside there will be more and more different meteors that are kind of hidden in, but you won't be able to see them because there's too much of the same type of colour going on, and it all starts bleeding into each other and becomes a bit of a colourful mess. A bit like someone's like chucked paint at a canvas and gone, there you go. And it's really one of only 2 downsides that I have to the game itself, because it becomes almost like you die because you can't really tell what's going on anymore. Or at least it was for me. The second downside of this is more around actual PC performance. So the game itself runs really smoothly, but I kept experiencing time jumps and movement jumps where my ship would bounce from one side of the screen to the other, and I didn't understand why. I thought it was some kind of weird wormhole mechanic, but other people have complained about this too, and apparently it's down to trying to get the game to maintain a stable frame rate. But the problem is because of the first problem that I mentioned, where there's going to be big multiple chain explosions and all the colours change everywhere, the game's frame rate doesn't stay stable, at least not for me. My PC is not fantastic, I get that, but what it meant is that when the game gets particularly busy and there's a slight frame rate drop, apparently, this will cause your ship to kind of bounce around, and I've had quite a few like quote unquote cheap deaths as a result of this issue that I've had. So yeah, that's kind of the only 2 downsides for that. Aside from that, it really is a high score game. Now the unlocks that you get are things like being able to start off with bigger weapons, more powerful weapons, being able to upgrade your weapons further and further, and being able to have pickups spawn more regularly, as well as stick around more quickly, because the power-ups disappear like within a second. So the Steam achievements that you get basically unlock the progression tier to be able to then do bigger, higher scores. And I quite like that as well, because it adds in the tiniest sliver of roguelikeness, but it does keep you going back. Overall, I've really enjoyed my time with Echoes 3. It's not going to be something that I would recommend to like absolutely the very first twin stick shooter that you would go for, but it's a solid game, works well enough. If they was able to iron out this issue with the time jump stuff, or the movement jump stuff, that would be really great. But yeah, solid entry to their series. This game was actually made on the app GameAppKit as well, which I think is worthwhile pointing out. So that's like an easy game startup kit for developers to kind of get into gaming, and it was quite impressive to see that whenever I think about development kits, I instantly think, oh, that'll be a nice little 2D retro platformer, but it shows the versatility in it, so a good nod out to that as well. So I hope that was informative. Thanks for watching. You guys take care, and I'll be back with more reviews and gameplay on higher plane games. Bye for now. This channel is just one of my many projects that cover games, music and film. If you enjoy any of these and would consider supporting me to develop further in the future, you can do so by visiting patreon.com/Satorimon. Thank you for your time and for watching the video.